Hare Krishna, Namaste. Chapter 14 is entitled as Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. Today we will see the overall summary of chapter 14, which is entitled as Gunatraya Vibhaga Yogam. This chapter covers four main topics. Number 1, the ways in which the gunas bind the self to the material existence. Number 2, only they are the agents of all actions which appear to be the doing of the self. Number 3, how to stop, not be influenced by the activities of gunas. Number 4, Krishna alone is the bestower of all three ultimate goals of life. With that, let's see the dialogue between Arjuna and Krishna in this chapter. We will not recite the slokas to keep the time shorter. Krishna begins the chapter. Arjuna, I referred to the three gunas in the previous chapter. Now I am going to describe the nature of these gunas and how they keep the Atma bound in samsara. Knowledge about the gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, is most essential. He who acquires this knowledge gradually becomes like me. He does not get born at the time of creation, nor does he perish at the time of destruction. Arjuna, Prakriti, which is the cause of the whole universe, is mine. That is, it exists for my purpose. I induct the jivas into it. This brings into being all the creatures. It is to be understood that I do this only at the beginning of creation. The creations that continues thereafter are also brought about by me only, using Prakriti and the Jiva. Arjuna enquires, Hey Supreme Lord, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, mode of goodness, passion and ignorance, where do they exist? How do they bind the selves to samsara? Could you please explain these aspects? Krishna begins, Partha, these three gunas are intermingled in Prakriti. The body, the sense faculties, etc. of the selves are only manifestations of Prakriti. Therefore, the three gunas reside in these as well. The gunas were in a condensed state in Prakriti, now in the body, senses, etc. becomes manifested. In its nature, the Atma has no room for shrinking or expansion of his knowledge. But by virtue of his karma, he has acquired a body. As he is connected to a body, the gunas in the body influence and subdue him and subject him to much harm. Then Arjuna enquired, Vasudeva, what is the work of Sattva? How does it bind him to samsara? The Lord replied, Pandava, Rajas and Tamas abstract illumination and happiness. Sattva is not like that. It causes enlightenment of a thing as it really is and happiness. It removes disease and promotes health. Sattva, when limited, induces the desire to acquire great knowledge and happiness. The embodied self develops the mentality that if he is unable to earn these to the desired extent, he should acquire them even by taking many births. He will perform many karmas for securing them and gets born again. Once again, he will engage himself in the karmas. In this manner, he will be caught up in samsara. Arjuna asked, Krishna, what does Rajas do? My friend, the mutual passion between the genders is caused by Rajas. Rajas is the source of the desire for sense objects and the attachment to one's progeny, etc. This guna prevails on the embodied self to engage himself in works directed towards material benefits and keep him tied down in samsara. Arjuna continues, what is the function of tamoguna, Krishna? Krishna said, Arjuna, the wrong understanding of dharma as adharma, adharma as dharma, and such other contrary knowledge makes a person commit sinful acts and produces tamas. It generates contrary knowledge in all the beings. Tamoguna keeps the Atma entangled in samsara by generating in him a lack of keenness, sloth, and sleep. Lack of attention will make him perform actions with lack of interest. This can cause many weird results. A lazy person will not perform any good action in due time. One who is ever sleepy will have no time to do good deeds or to acquire clear knowledge. Arjuna said, Vasudeva, the body, indriyas, etc. of the embodied self are only transformations of Prakriti. Therefore, the three gunas will always be inherent in them, and their effects are mutually contrary. Sattva produces clear knowledge, but tamas causes contrary knowledge. In this manner, if these gunas which generate mutually contrary effect, what will be the final result? Clear knowledge or contrary knowledge? Happiness or sorrow? Could you please clarify this doubt for me, Krishna? Krishna responded, Pandava, in the body, the three gunas will be present simultaneously, but not in the same strength. Sometimes sattva dominates, suppressing the other two. Sometimes rajas has the upper hand, taming sattva and tamas. At other times, tamas is active, keeping the other two down. The gunas change based on the merit and sin of the embodied self and the food he now takes. The dominant guna will produce its own effect. Thus, there is no scope of discrepancies. Nothing is contrary here. There may be multiple parties in a nation with different ideologies, but only the majority party governs at a given period. Similar in the case with the gunas. Thank you, Krishna. How to know which guna ascends and when? The Lord said, Arjuna, when the sense faculties, eye, ear, nose, etc., bring about the correct understanding of the sense object, form, sound, smell, etc., as they actually are, we can understand that sattva is dominant in that individual at that point of time. Unwillingness to part with one's material possession, being engaged in restless activities, result-oriented, uncontrolled senses, desire for the joy from sense objects are characteristics of dominant rajas. When knowledge does not arise, inertia, negligence, or wrong understanding is present, one can know that tamas is dominant. Arjuna asked, O Supreme Lord, it is logical that when the embodied self is alive, changes in the gunas bring about corresponding effect. If the gunas change at the time of one's death, what happens? Krishna replied, Kaunteya, if a man dies when Sattva Guna has peaked in him, he will be born in the lineage of persons having a clear knowledge of the nature of the self. He too will cultivate clear knowledge. He who died when the Rajas was at its peak in him will be born in a family engaged only in karmas aimed at material benefit. Following them, he too will undertake such activities. If tamas is dominant at the time of his death, he will be reborn as a dog or a pig, etc., as beings that do not have any possibility of knowing the nature of the self, not qualified to pursue any worthwhile goal of life. He will become a sinner. Arjuna becomes more curious and he asks, Madhusudana, what will be the ultimate state of these people who get reborn according to the guna dominant in their final moment? Please explain. Krishna said, He who died when Sattva was ascending in him will be reborn in the family of people who are knower of the self. He will perform activities, karmas, as offerings to the Lord, will become more and more sattvic and will reach the heights by acquiring the direct vision of the self. Partha, if he died when Rajas was on the growth path, he will be reborn among persons pursuing result-oriented actions. Like them, he too will engage himself in karmas aimed at material benefits. Rajas will grow in him more and more. He will reach heaven, stay there for some time, enjoy, and come back here. Again he will perform works and Rajas will grow even more. In this manner, he will be caught up in the cycle. He who died when tamas was in the ascendant will take birth in which there will be no possibility to acquire knowledge of the self. From a higher state, he will be reborn into lower classes. Then he will take birth as cattle, etc. Thereafter, he gets reborn as worms and insects, and then as tree, bush, etc. And still further as stone, wood, etc. Progressively, being reborn in lower and lower species of creatures, he will remain immersed in the ocean of samsara. Now Arjuna becomes worried. My Lord, what is the means by which the embodied self trapped in the transmigratory cycle can free himself from the sway of the three gunas and attain you? Lord said, Arjuna, whatever we do is not done on our own. The gunas propel us to act. We will not perform these acts if we do not have any contact with the gunas. Hence, he who realizes that it is the gunas which act and not us transcends the gunas. Freed from birth, death, old age, sorrow, etc., he will experience the eternal self in its essential nature. Arjuna asks, Vasudeva, what are the distinguishing internal features of the man who has transcended gunas? In other words, through what aspects can he realize whether he has gone beyond the gunas? What external features that distinguishes him? That is to say, what aspects characterize his behavior, observing which others can know his state. What is the important means by which he can cross over the gunas? So 3 questions has been asked, which can be grouped as 2. One is, what are his characteristics, both internal and external? And number 2, what is the mean by which he can cross over the gunas? Krishna responds, Pandava, the effect of sattva is illumination, of rajas activity, and of tamas ignorance, contrary knowledge, etc. He who does not hate some of these effects which happened and does not worry for some effects which did not happen, only such a person has gone beyond the gunas. On seeing an undesirable thing, a person feels aversion. If a desired object slips out of sight, he wants to see it again. Similarly, a person gets worried of thinking, why did I do this? Why did I go there? I should have spoken like this. I should have done like that. In the same way, a person blames his ignorance of some matters and his awareness of some other matters. Instead of these opposing states, if a person maintains equanimity in all situations, he has transcended the gunas. Arjuna questions, Vasudeva, how can an embodied being remain unchanged irrespective of the happenings being desirable or not? It seems to me that the state mentioned by you is rarely possible. The Lord said, satisfied with the vision of the self, he should be disinterested in material objects. When a person has no interest in other things, how can he have desire, liking or disliking of them? Hence, the gunas cannot provoke him into action through likes and dislikes. Pandava, happiness or sorrow does not undergo any changes in such person who has developed equal vision towards likes and dislikes. As his love is exclusively for the self, there is no possibility of his being happy on getting other things or feeling sad because he is not getting them. A lump of earth, a stone, a piece of gold are all equal in his eyes. That is to say, he has no use for any of them. Arjuna, he is firm in the discrimination that the self is different from the body, etc. Therefore, if others praise or insult him about his body, it does not bring him happiness or sorrow. The reason is his realization that the praise or blame relates to his body only, not to his Atma. Kaunteya, this person will not treat one as a friend because one honors him, nor will he consider one as an enemy because one treats him ill. Expecting action leading to the attainment of the self, he will not engage himself in any other activity. Partha, by means of inner features like freedom from desire, anger, etc., a person can become aware that he is not under the sway of the gunas. External characteristics like renunciation of all mundane activities would indicate that he has transcended the gunas. Arjuna, he who is engaged in undivided bhakti, aimed at only me, I, who supremely compassionate, full of love for the devotees, and my resolve, that is, my will, is always true. He whose bhakti is undivided, crosses over the gunas. He will experience the nature of his eternal and supremely enjoyable self. Bhakti is to be performed with no consideration of the result. Devotion should not be diffused towards me and as well as any other. Bhakti should be exclusively towards me alone. Such undivided bhakti is the principal means to go beyond the maya of the gunas. Arjuna asks his last question in this chapter. Janardana, it is said that you alone bestow liberation, the infinite bliss of the Absolute. Then who grants the Aishwarya, Kaivalya, the Brahman realization, the Paramatma realization? Krishna responds in the last sloka, my dear friend, Aishwarya, Kaivalya, Brahman realization, Paramatma realization, and the supreme goal of liberation called moksha, the bestower of all these is me alone, as I am the base for everything. There need not be any doubt in this regard. Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya yasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukasya ikantikasya cha. With this sloka, Krishna concludes chapter 14. Namaste. Hare Krishna.